Iraqi security forces have killed at least 6 more protesters this Saturday and injured more than 100 others as they used live ammunition and tear gas canisters to push them back from 3 flashpoint bridges. The bridges spanning the Tigris River lead to the heavily fortified Green Zone, the seat of government. Protesters tried to force their way across on an almost daily basis, leading to violent clashes that have caused the deaths of more than 250 people so far.
Between protesters and security forces continue in Baghdad. Several demonstrators were killed and over 100 more were injured on Saturday, the same day that Prime Minister Abdel Mahdi admitted that mistakes had been made by Iraq's political parties in the running of the country. Protesters were outraged by the increasingly intense security crackdown.
The authorities said on Friday that they wouldn't fire live ammunition. But since yesterday, they have been shooting at protesters.
They
are firing sound grenades, which means shrapnel. When they hit us with sound grenades, shrapnel flies out towards the protesters. They fire it directly at the protesters, not in the air.
The deaths occurred when anti-government protesters tried to reach the 3 bridges that cross the Tigris River, heading towards Baghdad's heavily fortified Green Zone, the seat of government. Protesters have tried to force their way across on an almost daily basis. The mass protests began at Tahrir Square in Baghdad on October 1st, with demonstrators demanding jobs and services, as well as calling for an overhaul of Iraq's sectarian political system. Despite pledges of reform by the government, security forces have used lethal force since the start and have killed more than 250 people across the country.
Well, France 24's correspondent in Baghdad, Simona Fulton, has been following all the latest for us. She was earlier near Tahrir Square, where she heard for herself the live fire and tear gas canisters that have caused the fatalities.
Now, I was at Tahrir Square in the afternoon, and I heard tear gas being deployed to push the demonstrators back, and security forces also used live ammunition. AFP reported that several demonstrators were shot dead during these latest clashes. Now, since then, it appears the demonstrators were able to mobilize and push the security forces back towards a square just north of Tahrir Square, which is where they're currently facing off. Now, of course, Tahrir Square bears a huge symbolic importance for these demonstrators. It is the ground zero for what they have been calling a revolution. And should security forces once again try to move on Tahrir Square in an effort to clear it, we can expect a lot of resistance from the demonstrators.